Picture this. It's 3:47 a.m. again. You're staring at the ceiling, heart pounding, eyes wide open, wondering why your body won't just rest. You didn't have coffee late. You didn't nap too long. Yet here you are, awake again. What if I told you it's not your age, not your mind, not even your bladder, but a single hormone flipping your sleep switch the wrong way? And that one tablespoon, yes, just one, could help turn it right back? Today we'll uncover the truth about cortisol, your stress hormone, and 6 natural science-backed ways to calm it fast so you can fall back asleep peacefully. Now, I know what you're thinking. Another sleep solution that sounds too good to be true, right? But here's the thing. Your body already knows how to sleep. It's been doing it your entire life. The problem isn't that you've forgotten how. The problem is that something inside has gone haywire, and that something has a name: cortisol. Cortisol is like your body's internal alarm clock, helpful by day, disruptive by night. During the day, it gets you out of bed, keeps you alert, and helps you respond to challenges. But at night, it's supposed to take a break. It's supposed to drop to its lowest levels between around 10 p.m. and 4 a.m., giving your body the green light to repair muscles, consolidate memories, and stabilize blood pressure. But modern life has a way of tricking your brain. Late night scrolling on your phone, hidden sugars in snacks marketed as healthy, dehydration that sneaks up on you. Even the timing of your medications can confuse your internal clock. When your brain thinks it's still daytime, cortisol spikes, sometimes to levels several times higher than normal, yanking you awake like an alarm you never set. And here's the terrifying part. Every time this happens, your body releases a flood of glucose into your bloodstream. Your heart rate climbs. Your deep sleep cycles, the ones that actually restore you, shrink. Do this for months, even years. And research suggests your risk of serious health problems can multiply significantly. So, if you're always waking up at night, chances are your cortisol curve has flipped upside down. Your body is stuck in survival mode, thinking there's a threat when there isn't. But here's the good news, and I mean genuinely good news. Scientists have discovered that certain natural compounds found in everyday foods can lower nighttime cortisol within minutes, helping your body switch back into repair mode. And the best part? You only need 1 tablespoon. Not supplements in pill form, not expensive prescriptions, not sleep drugs that leave you groggy. Just simple food-based remedies you can probably find in your kitchen right now. Before we dive in, I'd love to know, where are you watching from? Drop a comment below. We read every single one, and your stories help us create content that truly matters to you. Now, let's start with number 6. It's a golden liquid, and science shows it can calm your nervous system before you even close your eyes. Raw apple cider vinegar with the mother, that murky, cloudy stuff floating inside the bottle that most people think looks unappetizing. That's actually a collection of beneficial bacteria and enzymes that directly influence something called your gut-brain axis, the superhighway between your digestive system and your stress response center. When you take 1 tablespoon of raw apple cider vinegar in about 4 ounces of warm water, roughly half an hour before bed, something remarkable happens to your blood sugar that most people never connect to their sleep problems. Your glucose levels stabilize instead of doing that early morning crash that triggers your adrenal glands to pump out emergency cortisol like your life depends on it. Studies from university research teams found that people who took apple cider vinegar before bed had noticeably lower blood sugar readings by morning. A difference that might sound small on paper until you realize that's the difference between your body panicking at night versus staying calm. The acetic acid in the vinegar slows down the conversion of complex carbohydrates into sugar, essentially putting a speed limit on your digestion that prevents those middle-of-the-night glucose crashes. Your liver also starts producing less glucose during the night when apple cider vinegar is in your system, which means your pancreas doesn't have to work overtime and trigger stress hormones. I remember hearing from a woman, let's call her Margaret, who used to wake up every night around 2 a.m. with her heart racing. She started taking what she calls her sour shot, and within a couple of weeks, she was sleeping straight through until morning. No more midnight wake-ups. The key is getting the raw, unfiltered kind with the mother. That's where the probiotics live that help regulate your cortisol-producing gut bacteria. Most people dilute it wrong, though. You need exactly 1 tablespoon in no more than 4 ounces of warm water, not cold, because warm water helps it absorb faster and doesn't shock your system. The taste might make you wince at first, but that sour punch is actually stimulating your vagus nerve, which is like hitting the emergency brake on your stress response. If you absolutely can't handle the taste, add a 1/4 teaspoon of raw honey, but no more, or you'll spike your blood sugar and defeat the whole purpose. This simple drink has been shown in studies to reduce nighttime cortisol, awakening response by a significant percentage in people over 60 who took it consistently for a couple of weeks. Your grandmother might have called it a folk remedy, but modern science is proving she was more right than she knew. And this is just the beginning of what a single tablespoon can do. That's a powerful start. But if your muscles stay tense and your mind restless, this next one tackles the head on. Your muscles are literally starving for magnesium right now, and that deficiency is forcing your nervous system to stay in fight or flight mode all night long, pumping out cortisol like there's danger in your bedroom. 1 tablespoon of magnesium glycinate powder in water before bed doesn't just relax your muscles. It actually blocks the receptors in your brain that cortisol uses to keep you wired and worried. Here's the shocking part. Studies suggest that more than half of Americans are magnesium deficient. But if you're over 60, that number jumps to well over 3/4. And every single one of those people has elevated nighttime cortisol as a direct result. The glycinate form is crucial because it crosses the blood-brain barrier, unlike cheaper forms like magnesium oxide that just give you digestive upset without fixing your sleep. When researchers gave older adults with insomnia a moderate dose of magnesium for several weeks, their cortisol levels dropped by a substantial percentage, and they gained close to an hour of deep sleep per night. Your body uses magnesium to produce GABA, the neurotransmitter that tells your brain to calm down and stop producing stress hormones. But without enough magnesium, it's like trying to put out a fire without water. The powder form works faster than pills because it doesn't have to break down through your digestive system first. It starts absorbing through your mouth tissues the moment you drink it. I've heard from people like Robert, a retired mechanic, who thought his racing thoughts at night were just part of getting older, until his daughter convinced him to try magnesium powder. Within 3 nights, he wasn't waking up in a panic anymore. You need the glycinate form specifically because it's bound to glycine, an amino acid that has its own calming effects and helps shuttle the magnesium directly into your cells where it can shut down cortisol production. The dose matters too. 1 level tablespoon of most magnesium glycinate powders gives you somewhere in the neighborhood of 350 to 450 milligrams, which is the sweet spot for sleep without causing digestive issues. Mix it in about 6 ounces of warm water and drink it slowly over 5 minutes, not all at once because slamming it can cause a sudden blood pressure drop that ironically triggers a stress response. Some people feel the effects within 20 minutes as a wave of calm washes over them, while others need about a week of consistent use to fully restore their magnesium levels and see the cortisol-crushing benefits. This mineral is so critical for controlling nighttime cortisol that sleep researchers now consider magnesium deficiency one of the primary causes of middle-of-the-night awakening in older adults. Yet most doctors never even check for it. Now that your body's relaxing, let's soothe the mind, naturally with a fruit that doubles as a sleep elixir. Scientists were absolutely stunned when they discovered that tart cherry juice contains one of the highest natural concentrations of melatonin found in any food. But that's not even the most powerful thing about it for crushing nighttime cortisol. 1 tablespoon of tart cherry concentrate mixed in water contains compounds called anthocyanins that actually block the inflammatory pathways that trigger middle-of-the-night cortisol surges, working like a natural anti-inflammatory that specifically targets sleep disruption. University researchers found that older adults with chronic insomnia who drank tart cherry juice twice daily increased their sleep time by well over an hour per night and had significantly lower inflammatory markers that typically spike cortisol. The concentrate is many times more powerful than regular tart cherry juice because all the sleep-promoting compounds are condensed down. So you only need 1 tablespoon instead of drinking a whole glass that would make you need the bathroom all night. When your body detects inflammation, even low-grade inflammation from arthritis or aging, it pumps out cortisol as part of the immune response. but tart cherries contain specific flavonoids that tell your immune system to stand down. The natural melatonin in tart cherries is also bound to other compounds that make it absorb slower and last longer than synthetic melatonin pills, which is why people don't get that groggy hangover feeling the next morning. Your pineal gland normally produces melatonin to counter cortisol at night. But after age 60, melatonin production can drop by up to half, leaving cortisol unopposed to wreak havoc on your sleep. I've heard stories like George's, a retired teacher whose wife thought he was crazy for drinking cherry juice at bedtime until his sleep tracker showed he was getting 2 more hours of deep sleep after just 1 week. The key is getting pure tart cherry concentrate, not the sweetened juice blends that will spike your blood sugar. Look for Montmorency tart cherry concentrate specifically, because that variety has been the most studied. Mix 1 tablespoon in about 6 ounces of water around 30 minutes before bed. And don't be surprised if it tastes quite tart. That tartness comes from the same compounds that lower inflammation and cortisol. Some people report vivid dreams when they first start taking it because they're finally getting into REM sleep properly for the first time in years. The anthocyanins also help repair the blood-brain barrier that gets damaged by chronic high cortisol, creating a protective effect that builds over time. This isn't just about one good night's sleep. Consistent use of tart cherry concentrate has been shown to reduce overall cortisol rhythm disruption, meaning your stress hormones start following a normal pattern instead of going haywire in the early morning hours. But what if your stress response is running wild long before bedtime? That's where an ancient root steps in. This ancient herb that nobody can pronounce correctly, ashwagandha, is literally called the smell of the horse in Sanskrit because it's supposed to give you the strength and calm of a stallion. But what it really does is act like a master switch for your entire stress response system. 1 tablespoon of ashwagandha powder in warm milk or water contains compounds called withanolides that physically block cortisol receptors in your brain, essentially putting up a do not disturb sign that stress hormones can't ignore. Studies published in Psychological Medicine journals found that people taking ashwagandha had their cortisol levels drop by a substantial percentage in just 2 months, with the most dramatic reductions happening during nighttime hours, when cortisol should naturally be at its lowest. Your adrenal glands, those tiny hormone factories sitting on top of your kidneys, get exhausted from pumping out cortisol all day, and ashwagandha helps them reset and follow a normal rhythm instead of going rogue at night. This herb is what's called an adaptogen, meaning it helps your body adapt to stress rather than just knocking you out like a sleeping pill. So you build resilience over time instead of dependence. The research is so compelling that the World Health Organization has recognized it as a traditional medicine worth studying for anxiety and insomnia. When you take it about an hour before bed, it starts modulating your HPA axis. That's your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the 3-part system that controls your entire stress response. People like Tom, who couldn't believe an herb with such a weird name could fix his 20-year battle with waking up anxious, found themselves sleeping through the night within a couple of weeks. The powder form is important because it contains the whole root with all its synergistic compounds, not just isolated extracts that miss the full spectrum of benefits. Mix 1 level tablespoon in about 8 ounces of warm milk. Dairy or plant-based both work because the fat helps absorption and the warmth makes it soothing. Think of it as nature's bedtime cocktail. Some people say it tastes earthy or bitter, which it does, but you can add a pinch of cinnamon or nutmeg to make it more palatable without interfering with its effects. The cortisol-lowering effects are cumulative, meaning it gets more effective the longer you take it, with most people seeing maximum benefits after several weeks of nightly use. What makes ashwagandha especially powerful for older adults is that it also supports thyroid function. And since thyroid problems can cause nighttime cortisol spikes, you're addressing multiple issues with 1 tablespoon. Now, what if your body wakes you up because it's literally hungry for fuel? This next remedy answers that. The fructose and glucose in raw honey create a perfectly balanced fuel reserve that prevents your liver from panicking at night and triggering what's called the dawn phenomenon, a massive cortisol surge that happens when your brain thinks you're starving. 1 tablespoon of raw, unprocessed honey before bed provides exactly enough liver glycogen to last through the night without triggering insulin spikes that would wake you up, working like a time-release energy source that keeps cortisol at bay. Researchers discovered that honey consumption before sleep reduces the production of stress hormones by a significant percentage and increases the release of melatonin through a mechanism involving the conversion of tryptophan in your brain. But here's the critical part most people miss. It has to be raw honey, not the processed stuff in the bear-shaped bottle, because processing destroys the enzymes and compounds that regulate your stress response. Raw honey contains over 200 biologically active compounds, including quercetin and penicillin, that cross the blood-brain barrier and literally calm the neurons that trigger cortisol release. Your liver can only store a limited amount of glycogen. And when that runs out during the night, your brain hits the panic button and floods your system with adrenaline and cortisol to make new glucose from your muscles. Local honey is even better because it contains pollen from your area that helps modulate your immune system, reducing the inflammatory responses that can trigger nighttime cortisol. I've heard from grandmothers like Sarah who swear that switching from melatonin pills to a spoonful of raw honey stopped her heart palpitations at night completely. The key is taking it straight off the spoon about 20 minutes before bed, not mixing it in tea or water, which dilutes its effects and changes how quickly it absorbs. Some people worry about the sugar content, but the unique combination of fructose and glucose in honey actually stabilizes blood sugar rather than spiking it when taken in this specific 1 tablespoon dose. The honey also stimulates the release of insulin in tiny amounts, just enough to help tryptophan enter your brain, where it converts to serotonin and then melatonin, creating a natural sleep cascade. Studies on shift workers who have completely destroyed their cortisol rhythms found that honey consumption helped restore normal patterns within a couple of weeks, even in people who had been struggling for years. Raw honey also contains small amounts of magnesium, potassium, and B vitamins that support your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system that counters stress hormones. Don't use more than 1 tablespoon though, because excess amounts can have the opposite effect and spike your blood sugar enough to wake you up. This is about precision, not more is better thinking, which brings us to the #1 most powerful cortisol-crushing substance that will absolutely change how you think about sleep. This simple amino acid that your body uses to make collagen is the most underrated sleep supplement on the planet. And when researchers studied it on people with chronic insomnia, they discovered something that should have made headlines everywhere. 1 tablespoon of glycine powder, about 3 grams, taken before bed, lowers your core body temperature by acting on NMDA receptors in your brain, which signals your body that it's time to sleep, and simultaneously shuts down cortisol production, like flipping a switch. The researchers found that glycine reduced the time to fall asleep by a substantial percentage, decreased nighttime awakenings by roughly half, and most incredibly, lowered cortisol levels throughout the entire night, not just at bedtime. Your body temperature naturally needs to drop by about 2 degrees for deep sleep to occur. But when cortisol is elevated, it keeps your temperature high and your brain in a state of vigilance. Glycine overrides this by forcing the temperature drop through peripheral blood vessel dilation. What's absolutely remarkable is that glycine is the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter in your spinal cord and brain stem, meaning it literally tells your entire nervous system to power down and stop producing stress signals. People who take glycine report not just falling asleep faster, but staying asleep through the night without that 3 a.m. cortisol wake-up call that ruins everything. The powder form is crucial because glycine pills often don't dissolve properly and miss the absorption window. You need it to hit your system fast to trigger the temperature drop and neurotransmitter cascade. I've heard from veterans like Frank, who hadn't slept through the night in over a decade, who called glycine his miracle powder after it gave him his first full night's sleep in years. Mix 1 tablespoon in about 4 ounces of water right before bed. It tastes slightly sweet, like sugar water, which makes it easy to take compared to other supplements. The effects are felt within 30 minutes as a wave of calm coolness washes over you. And unlike sleeping pills, you wake up feeling refreshed instead of foggy because glycine actually improves sleep quality rather than just knocking you unconscious. Studies show that glycine increases the amount of time spent in deep sleep by around 1/4 and reduces daytime fatigue even when total sleep time is shortened, meaning the sleep you get is far more restorative. Your body uses glycine to make glutathione, your master antioxidant that repairs the damage from high cortisol. So, you're not just managing symptoms, but actually healing the stress-related damage. So, how do you put all these together into a simple nightly rhythm that your body actually remembers? The beauty is that many of these can be combined safely. Imagine taking your glycine with a spoonful of raw honey, or following your magnesium with some tart cherry juice, creating a personalized cortisol-crushing routine that works for your specific sleep challenges. If you tend to wake up anxious, try ashwagandha before bed. If blood sugar swings wake you, go for apple cider vinegar or honey. The body loves rhythm. Give it the same signal every night, and it will remember. Now, let's step back and look at what's really happening inside your body when you do this. Lowering cortisol restores deep sleep cycles where your body does its most important repair work. Memory consolidates. Immune cells patrol. Damaged tissues rebuild. Blood pressure stabilizes. This isn't about chasing perfect sleep. It's about restoring balance. Your body still remembers how to rest. You just need to give it the right cue. Think of these tablespoons as gentle reminders, whispers to a system that's been shouting for too long. You've lived through decades of challenges. You've earned your rest. And sometimes it's as simple as listening to what your body's been trying to tell you all along. So, before we wrap up, let's take a moment to remember what we've learned tonight. Cortisol is the main reason you wake at night. It's not your fault. It's biology reacting to a modern world your ancestors never had to navigate. But 6 1-tablespoon remedies can naturally rebalance your rhythm. Apple cider vinegar for blood sugar, stability, magnesium for muscle and mind relaxation, tart cherry for inflammation control, ashwagandha for stress resilience, honey for sustained overnight fuel, and glycine for temperature regulation and deep calm. Each supports your body differently, but all work toward the same goal, giving your system permission to rest. The real secret isn't in any single remedy. It's in consistency and calm. It's in creating a ritual that tells your body, night after night, it's safe now, you can sleep. You've lived through decades of challenges, you've earned your rest, and sometimes it's as simple as listening to what your body's been trying to tell you all along. If tonight's video helped you understand your body a little better, give this a thumbs up. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 1-tablespoon remedies are you planning to try first? And don't forget to subscribe for more insights like this, because every week we'll uncover simple, science-backed ways to keep your mind sharp, your body strong, and your nights peaceful. Remember, restful sleep isn't a luxury, it's your birthright.